Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and welcome back to another episode of Champion Battles, the series where I take on top VGC players in exhibition show matches, and then talk to the players a little bit afterwards. We have a super special guest today. He's one of my best friends from the very beginning of Pokemon in VGC. His name is Traylor, but you might know him better as the 2020 Dallas Regional Champion. Aaron took home the biggest VGC Regional Championship in modern day history, and he was the best player out of over 550 players over at Dallas Regionals. He won with a really cool team, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit, but Aaron had a really dominating run throughout the entire course of the tournament and had some masterful play throughout the course of his tournament run. He also won regional championships back in 2011 and 2015, got top 8 at Worlds in 2016, and then top 16 at Worlds this last year. So he's been really good for over pretty much a decade now in VGC, and I've been really close with him since the start, and it's been amazing to see his career really progress and grow, because he was always a really good player, but he is truly so phenomenal, and honestly I think one of the early favorites to do very well, if not win the World Championships this year. So I'm really excited to finally play against Aaron. We haven't played actually in a long time, but we used to practice together all the time, and please go give him a follow. If you want to check out the team report for the team that he won Dallas Regionals with, he actually posted that yesterday, or it might be 2 days by the time this video goes up. Wolfe Glick also did a video on it because Aaron built the team with Wolfe. So we're going to get into things, and if you guys enjoyed this series, please show support by leaving a like, and go check out Aaron. Go follow him on Twitter, linked in the description below. Anyway, I think this is going to be actually a really fast best of 3 because, in my opinion, Aaron basically built the team that I wish I had built. I think we have a lot of similar pieces actually revolving around like Whimsicott and Duraludon, and both of us made the call to go like max speed on those, but he's got a more support oriented Togekiss, whereas I have a more offensive Togekiss, and I have Rotom Heat as a fire type Pokemon, whereas he used a really unique G-Max Charizard set. So I haven't really thought too much about how to approach this matchup. I think the Whimsicott Duraludon mirror is always really scary, especially because both Aaron and I are both running max speed. So one thing I was considering was perhaps leading Whimsicott and Rotom. What this duo can do is that I can just go for Dynamax turn 1 with Rotom, and then I can just go for Fake Tears and Overheat to basically knock out Duraludon if Aaron leads that. If he leads anything else, I think Rotom has pretty good coverage against pretty much everything else that Aaron could bring. So I'm leaning towards those two. I think Snorlax is pretty much irrelevant in this matchup for me, so I'm not going to bring that. So the question is who I really want in the back, and I kind of like Duraludon here still, as well as either Togekiss or Conkeldurr. I think I'm leaning a little bit towards Conkeldurr though. So we're gonna see how this goes. Originally, I was thinking in like mirror matches in game 1, often I would lead Whimsicott Duraludon. But both Aaron, like I know Aaron is also running max speed on his sets. So that kind of changes the dynamic of the matchup a little bit. I think Rotom might be a little bit more consistent. But we're gonna see. I haven't played Aaron in a really long time, and he is just gonna go with Whimsicott and Duraludon. So I mean, what we can do here is go for Fake Tears, Dynamax Rotom, and go for the Fire Dynamax to knock out Duraludon. We've also got Taunt on Whimsicott, so we could go for something like we could taunt the opposing Whimsicott immediately, and that actually might be worth it the more I think about it. Because if we get it off and we get our Tailwind off, that would be really good. I'm not sure Aaron ever Tailwinds in this position. So by taunting here, it ensures that we'll be able to get Tailwind in the subsequent turns. The question is whether we want to Dynamax Rotom or not, because it is likely he goes for something like Fake Tears and Max Wormwind into Rotom. My Rotom's pretty bulky, but it's not guaranteed to survive that. So I'm thinking of taunting and actually just going for regular Overheat. Yeah, because I think I want to Dynamax the Duraludon that I have in the back. So I expect the Dynamax from Duraludon's end, and I think one trend that Aaron said was that he very frequently Dynamaxes turn 1, which makes sense. Both of our teams are like super hyper offensive, so not really too surprising to see that being the trend. I think this Rotom should be able to survive a Max Wormwind. So if one of the reasons I carry Taunt was specifically for the Whimsicott mirror, so it's like if we are able to get it off first, that'd be huge. But Duraludon actually helps for Max Guard, which is really interesting. I wonder if it's Fake Tears coming out or just a Tailwind. We end up winning the speed tie there, which is absolutely huge as well. And yeah, so Whimsicott was actually opting for Tailwind into Max Guard. So not a super common play there, but one that it's a little bit more defensive. So that not only allows us to get the speed advantage with our Whimsicott, which is huge, so we'll be able to set up Tailwind this turn. We could even go, actually, instead of Tailwinding this turn, for Fake Tears and Overheat into the Duraludon, but that's not super consistent, I think. because I think it's likely that Whimsicott actually gets doubled up into here. So I think I'm just going to opt for a Tailwind of my own. And I kind of want to not Dynamax the Rotom and instead Dynamax the Duraludon that I have in the back. See, I'm definitely going to Tailwind here. Honestly, I kind of like Dynamaxing Rotom in this matchup, the more I think about it. This Max Flare isn't going to KO, but it's going to do a ton of damage as Conkeldurr comes in. And the thing with Dynamaxing Rotom is if you look at a lot of Aaron's team composition, Rotom pretty much gets super effective damage against like half the team, and against the other half it hits for really good damage on the neutral spectrum. So we're going to bring out Rotom here. We could have gone for the Fake Tears Overheat play, but like I said, I didn't want to get doubled up into Whimsicott on my slot and not get the Tailwind up. But because Aaron switched out smartly, what this allows him to do potentially is stagger the Tailwind and get a Tailwind later on in the game. But I think the Taunt is optimal for me because even if we lost that speed tie, like it would prevent him from going for Fake Tears basically the next turn, and I think that's actually a really big deal as well. You can't knock out Dynamax Rotom if you don't Fake Tears Max Wormwind that slot. So it is just going to be Max Wormwind. It's going to do a hefty amount, but yeah, Rotom is actually quite tanky. It takes under 50%, which is really good here. So I think definitely can be content with that. It's Duraludon's last turn of Dynamax. I'm actually not sure if Fake Tears and Fire Dynamax knocks out the Conkeldurr, but kind of would rather knock that slot out. I'm not sure Conkeldurr can knock out Rotom at this range anyway, so we could just safely go for something like Moonblast to knock out the Duraludon. I would assume that would KO, but I'm actually not sure. Might be better to Moonblast Conkeldurr. But I really want to like double up onto Conkeldurr with Fake Tears and Max Flare, yeah. I'm leaning towards that, especially because I think we should survive another Max Wormwind, and then we'll have one more turn of speed with Rotom, and then Dynamax ends on Duraludon's end. So I'm actually going to double up onto the Conkeldurr here. But Aaron makes a really nice play. He switches out the Conkeldurr into Whimsicott. That was a really good bait. And no Max Guard from the Duraludon. So that was super smart. I think actually Moonblast and Max Flare would have been a smarter play on my end, because that covers for the option of switching out, and I'd probably get the knockout there anyway, so probably got a little trigger happy there with the Fake Tears. Aaron's going to go for a Steel Spike here. Okay, that makes sense. So we still have Tailwind up, which means we can pretty easily target down the Duraludon, but we could also actually just taunt Whimsicott to prevent it from Tailwinding itself. The defense boost, I don't think matters. At this point, Mach Punch should knock out Duraludon anyway. But that was a really good play, and I think I should have capitalized a little bit more because I felt like after turn 1 I was in a really good spot. Not that I'm in like a bad spot per se right now. We still have 2 turns of Tailwind. So it is pretty free, I think, to go for Taunt here onto Whimsicott. Just so it can't set up Tailwind. I mean, the question is who Aaron's got in the back, right? Because we know there's that Conkeldurr. That Conkeldurr is actually a big enough threat that I'm kind of worried about it. Especially if Tailwind is up. So I think I just really don't want Aaron to get Tailwind up here. But I think the taunt here is so obvious that maybe he doesn't go for it. Yeah, I'm leaning towards just Moonblasting Duraludon here and just Max Flaring a third time into Whimsicott. If Aaron just Tailwind protects here, though, that would be a really smart play. And he does just end up Tailwinding. Okay. So we are going to pick up a double knockout here because our Whimsicott's faster. And we still have another turn of Tailwind. But the thing is that we'll have to switch out Whimsicott. We have to switch Whimsicott out and back in, basically, if we want to get another Tailwind off this game. So I think Aaron weathered the storm really nicely considering the early lead that I basically had. Yeah, one thing I could have done there was taunt Whimsicott and then just Max Flare into the Duraludon. But I thought in this position, maybe he considers like knocking out my Whimsicott. So I think Aaron's definitely played the game so far better than me, considering the early lead that I got to. So we need Jealous and a Conkeldurr as the last two. Okay, so the upside here is that we have the Sun up right now. We've still got Tailwind as well, and we've got Fake Tears as well. So let's see. Yeah, one turn of Tailwind left. I've got to be worried about Strengths up. I wonder if Fake Tears and Overheat knocks out Conkeldurr. I'm really curious about that calc. The other question is maybe I actually just go for another Tailwind in this game. So one thing I could do is actually switch Whimsicott out right now into Conkeldurr. I kind of like Tailwinding again, to be honest, I think. I could Moonblast, Overheat here. Could Fake Tears, Thunderbolt, Jellicent. I don't know if that knocks out Jellicent. I'm going to go for it. If it gets a KO, I mean, I think it'll just pretty much be game. Yeah, I don't know the Overheat calc onto Conkeldurr. Sun is up, though, so maybe it does get the knockout. Does Thunderbolt KO Jellicent here? Oh, it does. Okay, nice. That was a crit. That crit actually might have mattered. I'm not sure about... Because I think Aaron's like Jellicent is rather offensive, but that could have actually been a big deal because it might have just been a double knockout coming out here. Depends on what Jellicent ended up going for. If it was Water Spout, wouldn't have really done anything. Could have gone for Shadow Ball, though, which is, I think, the more likely option. So that could have been a huge critical hit, to be honest. And for that reason, I'm actually not too happy about that play that I made. So Tailwind peters out, but now we basically, all we need to do is stall out the Tailwind. I really like Aaron's Conkeldurr set, though, so I ran Assault Vest as well, but I actually just used the set that Tup used on that Duraludon team way back. And I think Aaron's set was actually a little cooler because it actually has close combat, which I think is a really smart option. So, alright, just going for Rock Slide, which makes sense. You get the flinch chance and you knock out Rotom there, and Rotom's the bigger threat. But all we need to do is stall out the Tailwind with Duraludon in the back. Yeah, close combat's doing good damage there too. So Sun fades. I don't know what the calc is on that Jellicent and whether that crit mattered or not. I think it probably gets that knockout, but I am honestly not 100% sure. So we can bring in Duraludon now. But I think this game highlights why I really liked Rotom Heat on this team. Yeah, last turn of Tailwind, so we can pretty easily just Drain Punch and Protect, and then just go for Flash Cannon next turn. I also don't know the calcs onto Assault Vest Conkeldurr, so maybe Fake Tears Overheat is better onto that Conkeldurr. But the early taunt obviously is a really big deal as well. But I think Aaron made some really good plays given that I won the 50-50 speed tie on turn 1. But yeah, I didn't really like my matchup that much against opposing Whimsicott team, so going into the tournament, I figured taunt was a better option. I was running Protect initially, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought taunt made more sense. Mainly because my matchup against, like, oh my, Bug Punch does so much damage. That was a crit. Okay, I was like, that's crazy. Yeah, but I think if I lose that speed tie turn 1, obviously things are a little trickier because Aaron gets the speed advantage immediately. But the upside is with the taunt, the Whimsicott won't be able to Fake Tears me. So then what I can do turn 2 is Dynamax Rotom, and I could either Fake Tears and go for Max Flare onto Duraludon, or I can Tailwind, which I think I probably would do in that position. So yeah, that's the first game. Let's jump into the second game. I think, yeah, the crit on Jellicent, I don't know the calc on that, honestly, so I do have to double check that, but I think it honestly might have mattered. So, yeah, I think Whimsicott Rotom is honestly a really consistent lead here, and I think having Taunt gives me a really big advantage as well. Like, I could just go Whimsicott Duraludon, but the thing is, if we both lead Whimsicott Duraludon, like, immediately they're mind games, like, do you Fake Tears turn 1, do you Fake Tears Max Wormwind? And I think, like, Rotom overall is pretty consistent, although one thing that Aaron could lead actually to counter the Rotom is like Whimsicott Jellicent. You could just go for something like Tailwind Water Spout, although Rotom should be faster than a Jellicent. So I think we're definitely bringing Rotom again, it's just in one capacity. Yeah. I mean, Aaron might be content to just go with Whimsicott Duraludon again as a lead. I think that is like relatively consistent. So in that position, I could go Duraludon, but I really like Dynamaxing Rotom more, especially because Max Wormwind does less than half. So I think Whimsicott Rotom is still the way to go, and I'll see if Aaron figures out. You know, one actually really smart thing Aaron could do is lead Jellicent Togekiss and kind of play the Trick Room route in this game. Especially if you go with that. I mean, you could go for like Helping Hand Water Spout or Follow Me Water Spout turn 1. I think I'm going to go with the same Pokemon, though, because I feel like the first the four I brought in Game 1 were pretty good. So I'll kind of use this as a way to feel out for how Aaron adjusts to what I brought. I do think that when I was playing in Dallas Regionals, I wasn't super good at adjusting, and I like never was... One thing that I wasn't super comfortable with was like figuring out on the fly what adjustments I need to make in order to beat whatever adjustments my opponent brings. So we'll see how Aaron shakes it up this time around. It's going to be Charizard and Togekiss, okay. I like that a lot. I think here, often Togekiss is going to go for either Yawn or Follow Me. And then Whimsicott's going to go for... Charizard's probably going to Dynamax and then go for the G-Max effect into my Whimsicott, which means it gets rid of Whimsicott immediately. So, I mean, this is really tricky because I obviously want a Tailwind here. But I'm leaning towards not trying to snipe Togekiss with Fake Tears and Max Lightning. If I trade Whimsicott for... the question is, how do I feel if I trade Whimsicott for Togekiss? Yeah, I'm going to Fake Tears Max Lightning. I think what might have been a better play is to have gone for Fake Tears Lightning into Charizard. Charizard's always getting the attack off, I guess. So yeah, I think one of the coolest things about the team like Aaron, Wolfe, and Justin built was that it features G-Max Charizard, and that's a Pokemon that honestly wasn't even on my radar going into this tournament, but Aaron brought it a lot in his like top 4 and finals matches, and it was like an absolutely pivotal Pokemon, so I think it shows the flexibility of that team, which is really cool. So yeah, I mean, Togekiss provides so much support here, so I'd rather get the knockout, but the downside is like Aaron will have the speed advantage now in this game. Like, I could have gone for Tailwind, but there's the threat of Yawn from the opposing Togekiss. And if I get Yawn onto Rotom, that's really not good, because I think Rotom is such an essential Pokemon in this matchup. But like I said, I could have gone for the Fake Tears play onto Charizard as well. So we're going to see the G-Max Wildfire. Super, super sick move here. And it's really cool because that's such a clever way around Focus Sash, where you just get the knockout basically after the turn ends. So we're going to trade knockout. I mean, Max Lightning here should knock out Togekiss, I think. Yeah. So we trade knockouts here. One kind of cool thing is that this actually sets up the electric terrain, which means that the Conkeldurr in the back that I have can actually Thunder Punch for even greater damage against Charizard. But you can see the effect of G-Max Wildfire now. So we're going to be taking some residual damage. And I don't think I can bring in Duraludon here in front of Charizard, so I think I have to go Conkeldurr. Yeah. As Aaron's going to bring out Whimsicott. So the scary thing is now you can just go for Fake Tears. And like Wildfire. I don't really have counterplay to that, do I? Or sorry, Fake Tears and Max Airstream. My counterplay is switching into Duraludon. Might be the move, honestly. I don't... Like, Fake Tears Max Airstream might just knock out Duraludon, to be honest. Otherwise, my play is to double up onto Whimsicott with Mach Punch and Max Flare. I'm leaning towards that, to be honest. Because the Max Lightning's not knocking out Charizard anyway. Yeah, so there's Fake Tears. So we're going to trade Whimsicott here for Rotom. So this has been a super fast-paced like offensive game, but that is the nature of this kind of matchup. So there's Max Airstream, yep. KOs. Speed boost doesn't really matter because Charizard's going to be faster anyway. The problem is that now I set up the Sun for Charizard as well, so it's definitely destroying Duraludon, but I think it was one-hit KOing Duraludon anyway before that. And I think if Conkeldurr is Aaron's last one, these were some really good adjustments by him. And I think it probably is his last one. So, this game's still not over, but I gotta think about how to go up against Charizard Togekiss. And it might start from just Fake Tearsing Max Lightning Charizard turn 1, to be honest. Like, that's worth getting yawned, I think, potentially. And it is Conkeldurr as the last one, yeah. Okay. I think I always protect Duraludon here. And I go for Max Flare to knock out Conkeldurr, because I think Rotom wins 1v1 against Charizard. Charizard actually max guards. Oh, I'm actually really surprised by that. I'll take that. Yeah, I think we always target Conkeldurr here. Especially, that's one of the reasons why I ran Nasty Plot Rotom, because I really hated my Charizard matchup. That just knocks... Was that a crit? Dude, I got super lucky this game. Both games, honestly. Presumably, Aaron was targeting down the Rotom slot. Yeah. But even if you go for Rock Slide or Close Combat, I think after that, Max Flare, Conkeldurr should probably still be in KO range from Overheat if you Drain Punch or Thunderbolt if you don't recover. And then I think Rotom wins 1v1 against Charizard. So I think Rotom alone was really good, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to run it going into this tournament. Yeah. Because Charizard basically has no offense against it, so you basically are able to wall. As Duraludon avoids the Blast Burn too. So just everything going my way this game, honestly. But I feel like we were in a pretty good spot anyway, to be honest, because I think Rotom single-handedly can win in this entire matchup, as we saw. It basically needs to avoid getting KO'd earlier on, but having both Taunt and having the Overheat is super good. Sorry, having Taunt and then having Nasty Plot Dynamax Rotom is also super good, just because it gives us a lot of ways to play around Whimsicott, so... and then I think another way we could see this game shake out is if like Trick Room came out. But we got pretty fortunate both games. Like we had a crit, and like both of those crits, I think I'm not sure we're getting the knockout otherwise. So not exactly like the cleanest set, but I think the adjustments that Aaron made were really good. I think like the Charizard made a lot of sense to instantly get rid of the Togekiss. Sorry, the Whimsicott. But yeah. I wish we could have had a cleaner set. I always feel like these, like, winning off crits or RNG like that's always lame, because, like, you want to display, like, the highest level of skill, and it's, like, both games, like, I'm not sure it mattered, but we were in, like, okay positions, but it still certainly could have gone either way, and I think, like, ultimately, Rotom is really good. It's part of the reason why I really, really liked it. So, yeah, I think we're going to get Aaron on, and I'm going to talk to him about the team, his run at Dallas, and, yeah, thanks for watching this best of 3. I feel bad because it wasn't, like, a super, super great best of 3, but... at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, RNG is part of Pokemon, so it is what it is. But let's get Aaron on for a brief interview. Welcome back, guys. I got Aaron on a call with me, and, you know, we obviously wanted to talk a little bit about the match, but I also want to talk to him about the tournament because, of course, he won the biggest VGC Regionals of all time. So, first of all, I was apologizing to Aaron beforehand because that was definitely not the cleanest sets we could have played.
I was graciously apologizing. With every ounce of my strength.
No, yes.
It's fun to play you, Aaron. Thanks for having me.
No, absolutely. I figured it would be like a really fast-paced set because I was actually saying in the video before we got started, but I think like the team that you guys ended up building is like where I wanted to go with my team, but you had like the last couple of pieces, and I think like Jellison was actually such a smart call because I had a lot of trouble with like Rhyperior specifically throughout the course of the tournament, so it's a super well-rounded team.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really proud to have worked on it. And I just wanted to say that set made me realize that I'm very glad that we did not play during the tournament. Because nobody ever wants to bring a max speed, timid Duraludon versus another max speed, timid Duraludon, because that's just a recipe for disaster on everyone's end.
Yeah,
And I think that really shows how good, like, fast fake pure stuff is in this format, like just the quick pacedness of the games. And, you know, I feel like in that set I made some very small mistakes, and that was just the game for me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I felt that when I was playing with my team too, where I think part of the reason that I was like really bummed out about the tournament was because there's literally like one play in each like loss that I had that I can point to and be like, oh, if I just like made a risky play and Dynamax Duraludon in front of a Charizard and KO'd it, like that would have won me the game. But go ahead.
Yeah, so, I mean, it feels a lot, like, that sort of thing feels a lot like the VGC 19 games that, you know, I had a lot of experience playing. Like, oh, man, like, if you mess one thing up in a VGC 19 game where there are restricted Pokemon running around, then it's over. And so, I mean, that's not a great feeling, but I think, like, as the season goes on, you might know more and more how to deal with that sort of thing. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, the first thing I wanted to really ask about is, I mean, first of all, you're coming off, like, such a huge win, and there's so many factors that went into it, but I knew you felt really good about the tournament going into it as well. You felt really good about your team, so you want to talk about, first of all, like, how you prepared for it, and two, how you were able to, you know, stay mentally focused, because it was such a long tournament, but you were, like, locked in the entire time.
Yeah, for sure. We started, Wolf and I started working together, in mid-December. So when Wolf and I work together, we usually go off in our own directions early.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, we start talking, and if we both like the same direction, we end up going that way. And that's been how it's been for a little while. Um, and so we were talking, and Wolf mentioned liking some stuff Justin was doing, which is sort of similar to your Life Orb Duraludon stuff. Um, and then the team just started coming together, and finally we put Jellicent on it the Thursday before.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't really know how good Jellicent would be. I mean, I had intuitions, of course, but really, when we put together Whimsicott, Duraludon, Charizard, and Conkeldurr, we were like, okay, this is it. This is a team. And I think we felt that way because of just like the amount of offensive pressure we were able to put out in the early turns. Um, yeah, I can monologue for more, but do you have more questions?
No, that definitely makes sense. I think the Charizard's one thing that I think everyone's curious about because I was actually saying this when the battle started. Like that was something that literally just was not on my radar at all, and I know you guys were like really big fans of it, and like you used it a ton too, especially in like top 4 and finals, and it was such a instrumental Pokemon. So do you want to talk about how you guys came to that idea and the whole G Max Charizard and
For sure.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. We started out the team, much as maybe you started out your team with Whimsicott and Duraludon. And so we wanted to use Life Orb Duraludon. And we were just sort of looking around for like, okay, well, we know that this has problems with Charizard. Well, how are we going to deal with that? And then we thought about our own Charizard, and we realized that the Life Orb was already taken, and we just were shooting around ideas. And someone mentioned Gmax Charizard, and when you're team building in Pokemon, you kind of have to know which Pokemon to look a little further into and which to, ignore. And we just started poking around with it, and we realized that the Gmax move was incredibly strong, and no one was looking at it. And so the thing that I love most about Gmax Charizard is it lets you knock out Whimsicott through its sash.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It only gets one turn to do it at once, and then after that, you get like 3 turns of 1/6 damage. That's awesome. So that's what it was, and we loved it, honestly.
I'm personally curious, like how percentage of games that you're Dynamaxing. How often is Charizard the Dynamax Pokemon in the games that you're bringing it to?
Oh.
Or sorry,
no,
yeah. Or more often, how often are you Dynamaxing Charizard versus the other Pokemon?
That's a good question. I'd say that Charizard only comes to a game if it's being Dynamaxed. Actually, my strategy for Game 3 versus you, if we had made it there, was to put it in the back and just not Dynamax Duraludon in the front. Try and get you to waste resources. I'd say like 40%. To me, it's obvious in team preview, and it might be obvious to other people when it's a good time to bring Charizard and when it's not.
Right.
And so what we really liked about Charizard is people had game plans for Charizard Whimsicott because like I do, my first thing to do when I'm going to a tournament is thinking about the metagame and then like coming up with strategies for everything I play or could play. And so I imagine other people do similar. And playing like solar-powered Charizard and Whimsicott is something that people had to know how to deal with. And our Gigantamax Charizard actually plays in a very different way than most solar-powered Charizard and Whimsicott. And so we were sort of able to abuse that unpreparedness. And that's when we would bring Dynamax Charizard.
Yeah. I think one other thing I wanted to ask you about, specific to the team, is because like the team in terms of like the Pokemon, nothing's too crazy, but I thought you guys had some like really smart calls. Like for example, Charmong Whimsicott, the really bulky Super Luck Togekiss that's also support oriented, Close Combat on Conkeldurr.
Oh my god!
Like there were so many small things that I thought were really great techs, and so like, do you want to talk about those specific decisions?
Yeah. So I mean, little things like that. It's just like hours of us just throwing ideas back and forth at each other.
Yeah.
We or at least I tend to be really picky in the ideas that I will agree to. And I think Wolfe does too. And same with Justin. And then when we're done being picky and we're like, that's kind of cool, that's how we know when to stop.
Yeah.
And so, for example, Blast Burn, right? Like, I was like, we should look into Gmax Charizard, and Wolfe was like, okay, let's put a Charty Berry on it. He actually said Charty Berry or weakness policy, and I really like the idea of weakness policy. Yeah, I thought that would have been so cool. But then he was like, what if we did Blast Burn? And I was like, that is ridiculous. And no, and I'm not going to be the guy who does that.
Right.
And he was like, no, believe me. And I was like, no. And for a few days, I was thinking that they might go to the tournament with Blast Burn, and I would go with like Heat Wave. But then in testing, it came up so much. And then the other things like triple fighting move Conkeldurr came up. It came up like so much. The need to click both close combat and Drain Punch. So for like the little things, I would say that the way we arrived at those was just being very careful in our testing and like noticing games and like sort of like post hoc thinking of changes we could make.
Definitely. I think ultimately the team seemed like super cohesive. So I think early metagame is so hard, but it feels like you guys literally like found something that was like so good. And I think like you seem super confident in one of the three people who use this team at the tournament to be able to win the entire thing. So do you think it pretty much covered all your bases going to this event? You're like happy you wouldn't change any like single thing about it after having played in the event?
After having played in the event, I mean, the one thing I would change that I keep saying is more special attack.
Right.
EVs on Jellicent.
Right.
I missed a couple KOs because of that, and I just take them out of defense or something. Excadrill is really bad versus our team anyway. Actually, Aaron, this team wasn't always in such a beautiful, perfect state, like how I think it arrived at. In the tournament, up until like Wednesday before the tournament, it's like 3 days before the tournament, we had Dragapult in the Jellicent slot.
Oh wow.
And that was really tough because you pick a Pokemon to Dynamax with, say Charizard or maybe Duraludon, and then you pick either Whimsicott or Togekiss to lead with it, and all of a sudden, like, what are you doing in the back? I guess you just have to bring Conkeldurr, but either you double up on support, or you bring Charizard, which can't Gigantamax, or you bring Dragapult, which is kind of ineffective.
Yeah.
And so it felt, like, inconsistent on ladder, and then Thursday before the tournament, I think Justin was like, guys, we have to reevaluate it. But yeah, no changes. I love it. I think, I also keep saying this, I think if you wanted to change something about the team, you would have to change a large part of the team.
Yeah.
I don't think this is like one Pokemon swapping out will make it better. It's like, no, you have to like change the goals and direction of this. You have to swap out like 2 Pokemon, if not more, to really get something new out of this team that I couldn't do right now.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I think, thank you. I think the other thing is like, it's really like some things crop up really early in the metagame. Like, like out the gate we had Solar Power Charizard and Whimsicott and Hard Trick Room with Dusclops, Torkoal, and what's the last one? Rhyperior.
Yep.
And those things, like, I don't know, in your own practice, those things are really hard to beat.
Yeah.
But I think, like, once you know enough and, like, test enough, you can start to build teams that sort of push the metagame past that and do interesting things. And I'm just really proud that, like, this effort, like, started that in a big way.
Yeah, definitely. I think, one thing I want to touch on is, I also mentioned this before the video started, but, you've been playing for a long time and you've been really good throughout, like, so many different metagames, but I think one of the reasons why I always thought it was super cool that, you're able to do so well, but you're also, like, smart about how you practice. I think a lot of...
shucks.
Yeah, in all seriousness, I think...
Go on.
I think, I mean, for those that don't know, Aaron's actually, like, he's so smart outside of Pokemon, too. Like, he's a brilliant Pokemon player, but he's, like, literally one of the smartest guys I know, and he's able to, be literally like a regional champion, win this biggest regional tournament while also, going to school and getting his PhD, which is like crazy because I think a lot of players will often just think, oh, if I have to get good at this game, I just have to, put in hours and hours. But I always felt like you were not only obviously really good at the game, but really smart about how you approach it. So, maybe you want to talk about how you're able to balance like being able to do so much outside of the game, but also being able to put in enough time to be a champion, and what kind of goes into that practice regimen.
Yeah, for sure. First off, I'm sending this video to my advisor, so she can just what you think about me. The first rule about Pokemon that I have is real life comes first, always.
Yeah.
I think you have that rule too, and I think that's what really gives me a lot of respect for your YouTube channel, and you as a person is like, you're really good at this, but you also like are totally just like a person outside of it who has that stuff together. The other thing is it's just about putting in the good practice habits. And like Pokemon isn't a game where you like can sit down. It's not StarCraft, right? You can't sit down and play 14 hours of Pokemon. That's not going to make you any. I mean, it'll make you better, but it won't make you like gainfully better.
Yeah.
I think that the devil's in the details with the little things, and just like taking the time to sit back and look at some of your past games means the world. I don't actually know how many top players really do this after a showdown ladder session, but I flip through most of the games that I play, and just another thing is like, yeah, just trying to detach myself from the game. Pokemon can get really emotional, and especially if you like spend a good long time in it, and so sort of like not only focusing on real life outside of the game, and then coming back to the game when I'm ready, and looking at my own games, trying to like imagine what it would be like if I was on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
I think those are really important skills to build. Like for example, like detaching myself from the game, I'm taking a week off. I'm not just gonna like charge right back in. I want to make sure I can play Pokemon forever.
Yeah,
Does
yeah.
that sort of answer your question?
No, definitely. That was perfect. I think. I think that's good too, right? People are like, oh wow, like coming, off a hot win of a tournament, like keep the momentum going. But I think like a break is important too, especially because you can sit there saying, I just won the biggest like regionals of all time. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but that's I mean, I guess a little bit about my mentality. Yeah.
Cool. Just wondering if there's any. I'm sure a lot of the viewers, especially because you won in front of so many people for this tournament, right? So I'm sure they're curious, what your plans for the rest of the season are. You're obviously way closer to a Worlds invite now. Without a doubt, you'll be getting that relatively soon. But you said in your interview, you gave a very, very confident statement in your post-tournament interview. Do you want to maybe elaborate on that a bit?
I don't remember that one. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, like my goal with everything I do is to win the World Championships.
Yeah.
That's been my goal forever, and it's not like I don't want the $10,000. I don't want the Pikachu trophy. I just want my play to be at a place where it's the best in the world.
Yeah.
And I think I get closer to that every day. And so that's my goal. And so towards working towards that goal, I'm definitely going to go, to the national championships. I'm definitely going to work hard to secure my invite. I don't like for example, the what the players call the snowball or like the stipends. Do you update your viewers on these sorts of things?
They have some. I think some people know, others don't.
Yeah. So if you're in the top percentage of points, in the nation or in North America, you get a free trip to the next city, or you get an automatic qualification to Day 2 at Worlds. But that's not really what motivates me. I just want to keep building cool Pokemon teams and keep trying my hardest.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna go to a couple of regionals, I think, and just sort of see who can who teaches me something new about the game, and try my hardest to be my best.
That's perfect. That's exactly what we love to hear here.
Thank you.
I think before we wrap up, because I've been holding you here for a while, so thank you for talking to me for so long, because I think this is...
Obviously, I love to talk forever.
Aaron and I could literally talk for literally forever, so maybe we'll have a podcast or something in the future. But
that'd be fun.
Yeah, let us know, guys, if you want to see that. But, I think... one last thing I wanted to ask you is you've always been super, in my eyes, super welcoming to newer members of the community. You're one of the admins of the VGC subreddit. So, especially off this big victory, like what advice can you give to people that are just getting into things or people that might want to one day go to a regionals and maybe be able to do really well? What would you say to someone starting out?
Absolutely. Well, here's my advice is that Pokemon is more than anything a game of information.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that, like, in Pokemon battles, like, what your opponent can have, sure, whatever, that's just part of the game. But Pokemon at many levels is about knowing things. For example, I know, and many of your viewers know, and you know, that there are, like, how many Pokemon now? Like 900?
Mm-hmm.
Each of those Pokemon have 2 types. Each of those Pokemon have abilities. Each of those Pokemon have stats. And each of those Pokemon have access to a number of moves. All of those things are different for each of those 900 Pokemon.
Yep.
That is a lot of information. And I think the most important thing you can do when you're learning Pokemon is to never, ever fault yourself for not knowing all of that information. And Pokemon is about taking in a bunch of information over a long period of time and learning and growing. And I think if your viewers just focus on that, then they'll do great in the long run.
That's awesome. I think that's the best advice, honestly. It's simple, but it's really hammered that down home.
Thank you.
Cool.
I don't know. That's just what I want to say.
Yeah, awesome. So before we finish, do you have any final words?
No, I was trying to think of a question for you.
Turning things around a little bit. Guys, of course, this is a rental team, so feel free to try it out yourself. You can see the team displayed. Aaron is super friendly. If you have any questions, feel free to reach him out on Twitter. And go give him a follow, too, because you're going to see a lot of him throughout the rest of the season.
Oh, shucks. Yeah.
And like I mentioned, Wolfe also posted a video about this team on his channel. So all of that's in the description below. Please go check all of it out because Aaron wrote one of the best team reports I've seen in a long time, too. I think it was very descriptive, gives a lot of good insight on the game. I'm just hyping him up right now because he's one of my best friends, but I really do mean all of these things I say.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Follow me. I'm going to be doing a lot more. I'm really excited to go out there and win more games. Thanks for having me on, too. It's always nice, Aaron.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah.